Those two there?
Yes, two dumbass movie reviewers from the 21st century.
They look like idiots. Why are they grabbing their heads?
Well, their brains exploded when they tried to make sense of Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah.
Time-traveling white guys and their tri-headed beastie brew a chronological catastrophe for Godzilla and all members of the audience. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, 1991. Whoo!
We've reached
boy.
the 90s.
Yeah, it is the 90s indeed, and this movie is, okay, I love it. It's made my top 10 tokusatsu movies of all time. I absolutely adore this movie when I click off my brain and I just watch it for the fights and everything else. In some cases, it is a better movie than Biollante, but in other cases, it scales back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like I enjoy this movie more than Biollante.
I actually ranked this number 8 out of the movies that we've seen so far. We've seen 18 so far.
So
this
top
is,
10.
Yeah, top 10.
Something that needs to be mentioned straight off the bat is that this movie is practically identical to Biollante in terms of the story structure.
One thing that is not in the previous movie is a big emphasis on time travel.
We have a couple of white guys as our antagonists. Finally proving that there actually are some decent Caucasian actors in the modern era, but they speak Japanese, not English.
I don't think we really put much stock in the acting in any of these movies.
Especially if your skin just happens to be alabaster.
Yeah.
So we got these time-traveling white guys that come back in time to basically tell Japan, hey, we're here to save you, and we're gonna go back in time and f with the origins of Godzilla, because in the future Godzilla destroys your country, and we don't want that. We don't want that. We want you to succeed. So what do you think? Everybody's like, hey, cool.
That sounds great.
Yeah. And
where do we sign?
They all jump into a time machine and go back in time to 1944 to a little island in the South Pacific.
With Godzilla!
The Dorats 2.
Major Spielberg!
And a sidekick.
A time traveler!
A robot and
Caucasian!
here on Lagos Island! Lagos Island is being besieged by Americans, those damn dirty white American bastards! There's a Japanese garrison there led by Shindo, who we meet in the future.
We'll see him again.
And he likes dinosaurs and is obsessed with dinosaurs. And he has other people on his garrison, some of whom are actually offended by museums that we find out early on.
He objects to a dinosaur exhibit.
I object! The T-Rex did not do that. The T-Rex had 3 fingers, not 2.
God damn it, Kenneth! They transferred the Godzillasaurus out of there. That's their plan, right?
Yeah, they transferred the Gamera screaming Godzillasaurus into the Bering Sea, because the idea is that, hey, we're going to take Godzilla off of the island that later gets detonated with nuclear bombs, and that's going to prevent Godzilla from ever having existed. So, okay, they get rid of the Godzillasaurus, they dump them into the sea, they go back forward in time again, because they prevented Godzilla from ever having existed, but they left the Dorats behind, right? So then the bomb drops back in 1954, and rather than creating Godzilla, it creates King Ghidorah instead, and they're now in the future, in the present, and it turns out the white guys are actually wanting to destroy Japan with Ghidorah, but they wanted to prevent Godzilla from ever actually having, like, come into play, but then Godzilla's still alive. Godzilla is still Godzilla, and then they fight, and a head gets blown off, and Mecha King Ghidorah, and the end. Yeah.
So once we picked our jaws up from the floor after watching this very convoluted plot line, so yeah, let's go back to 1944 here.
All right, we're going back in time again. You know what's really funny too? If we don't mention this now, we're not going to mention this at all. The director, Amori, the director from Biollante, came back for this movie. Apparently, he blamed Biollante's financial failure on Back to the Future Part 2. And he was like, oh, those damn audience members, they just want time travel stories. So we get this time travel story that explores the origins of Godzilla and whatever else. Godzilla's origin, he's officially a dinosaur. When a bomb drops on him, he becomes Root Godzilla. And it's a little bit different than his original origin. And you have told me that you are not a fan.
No, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I like the origin from...
Oh, wait, I know this is coming.
Godzilla 98!
Oh my god! I'm done.
That comes
on.
Matthew! Matthew, come back! No! Matt, but... well, folks, I guess that's all.
So, you really prefer G98?
I don't know, for some reason I like the fact that radiation has mutated...
An iguana? You prefer an iguana?
Did they ever say it was an iguana?
They imply it in the goddamn credits.
It's just an iguana. That's a different review.
It's a big iguana, and there's an atomic bomb.
Damn you for making me defend
and then
that movie.
It has an egg that hatches. I mean, how much more less subtle can you get?
You know what I think I like about it, honestly, is it kind of harkens back to those crappy 1950s B movies, you know? Where it's like, oh, it's mutated.
But you have a mutated dinosaur in this same damn thing. It just doesn't happen to be, like, at PetSmart.
They're fighting a world war, and then all of a sudden there's a dinosaur that no one's ever come across. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with this. Like, I can accept the fact there's a three-headed dragon, but I can't accept the fact... or Dorats, or time travel, or that Steven Spielberg served in World War II in the Pacific Theater.
Major Spielberg. Sir, yes, sir!
I draw the line, sir, when it comes to the fact that there's a living dinosaur. I'm gonna get so much shit in the comments, aren't I? Because I gave a compliment to Godzilla 98.
You only
oh my god, I'm gonna get so much shit in the comments.
As far as the Godzillasaurus is concerned, I like it. I like the idea behind it. I think it looks like Godzilla. I think the suit is kind of stiff. I think in theory it could have worked out great. You look at some of the storyboards that they did originally and there are some brutal things going on there, but when it actually comes into play, you're just kind of like, yeah, it's just, you know?
So apparently Godzillasaurus has it out for the white man because it only destroys
They're killing our boys! The dinosaurs killing our boys!
Gigantic dinosaurs attacking our boy! A dinosaur?
We were just talking about how the Japanese-speaking white guys are pretty cool. Well, then all of a sudden we get a bunch of Caucasian actors playing American military types, and oh my god, put a gun on my head, please.
These might be some of the worst.
Let's just have a moment of silence for the Caucasian actors in Godzilla.
Yes.
The boys, the boys, Major Spielberg, and all the rest of them. Remember our boys! What do you think about Ghidorah's origins? We didn't really touch on that.
I like the fact that it's something new from the Showa era. He's not an alien from outer space. He's actually created here on Earth from Dorats.
For whatever reason, these don't, like, fuel my rage. I don't necessarily hate the Dorats. They look cruddy. They look like the kind of thing that Toho would throw into this movie because Biollante didn't sell, it didn't do well with kids.
Yes.
So it's like, hey, stealing your words, let's get a cute Pikachu type to get in here, and hey, yeah! They're awkward. They're very bad special effects. Yeah. I don't think I mind the fact that he has a new origin because of the fact that I think that this Ghidorah, as much as I love the Showa Ghidorah, is actually fairly menacing and kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, this Ghidorah that it transforms into is kind of a badass. Because he's destroying the cities. I know we've seen that before, but he almost takes out Godzilla.
Yeah.
And he almost takes him out twice. One time he's like hopping on him, and then the controller thing gets destroyed, and Godzilla gets the advantage again. And then the other time he's choking the shit out of him. And
which was awesome.
Yeah. And Godzilla only beats him because of the fact that he has nuclear pulse.
Yeah. And this is the first time we've ever seen him and Godzilla duke it out one-on-one,
exactly.
Which is also very cool.
That's something that I don't think I've ever really realized until he brought it up. Amongst the white people is Ray Romano's older brother from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Raymond? I am a time-traveling robot.
And Robert Scott Field is like, he's beloved in the G fandom. So not only does he prefer Godzilla 98, but he also just made fun of Robert Scott Field. So...
He's got a phenomenal chase scene in this movie. And then he gives that smug... You see that? Hey, you see this shit? Running as fast as a car. Look at this shit!
I think it's cool that we we finally get characters that are kind of fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have Emmy from the future. I can actually remember her name. Oh my god! She pilots Mecha King Ghidorah. You have Android M11, who has some fun, goofy scenes. Nikki Saguso, whom we did not talk about in our Biollante review, we probably should have, because this character from Biollante up until Destroya is going to be a constant.
We actually have characters that we care about, and they're entertaining.
Yeah, you have Wilson, the big baddie. Once again, you look at the last movie, and I can name a couple characters from that, but, you know, I think these are a lot more fun.
This movie, well, the movie itself is definitely more fun than Biollante.
Yes. This movie got a Special Technical Achievement Award at the 91 or 92 Japanese Academy Awards. This one over here, as we're watching it, probably like a quarter till the end, he's like, I can't believe this movie won an Oscar. And to be fair, I kind of happen to agree. I really do. And here's where it takes a step back from Biollante, because where in terms like in character and story, I feel like it takes us, goes a step beyond. In terms of the special effects, it goes a step back.
Yes.
And I think it's because of budget and because of time. I really do think that those are the primary factors, just like it is in any production. Keep in mind, I like the suits for Ghidorah, Mecha King Ghidorah, Godzilla. I think the optical effects for the ray effects are beautiful.
Those are great, yeah.
But you also think about like the jet fighter scene with Ghidorah and the jets, and it's just like these stiff models just kind of doing their thing. And it's just like, wow, okay, this does not look nearly as good. They during the fight scenes, they change up the cameras, so rather than having that sense of girth and size that 84 and Biollante had, everything seems much more normal sized, I guess. They don't go for the crazy angles, it's much more just kind of head on, that kind of stuff.
When a movie is rushed and it takes a year or less, usually it's a complete piece of crap. And I cannot call this a complete piece of crap at all.
And these guys, I mean, they do what they can. We try to explain the time travel bit, and really what this movie does is that it takes Godzilla from, it's the island that we just mentioned, drops him in the ocean, so when the bomb drops, it doesn't create Godzilla, it creates Ghidorah, and then the white guys turn out to be the big baddies, and they're actually going to use Ghidorah to go and kill the Japan and take it over, because Japan apparently is an economic power in the future.
Halting right there really quick. I like that aspect of kind of sabotaging the people in the present day and using Ghidorah as a weapon like this.
But you start thinking about it too hard.
Yes.
And
if you were just to think about that right there, that's cool.
Yeah.
What he's about to say is where I start to lose it.
You get back to the future, the present day, where everybody still remembers Godzilla. If he had never existed, then nobody would remember him, right? Well, Godzilla is still Godzilla. He's not the Godzillasaurus, he's still Godzilla. And then things just kind of happen, and it's almost like nothing actually occurred. Now, what really happened, there's an article that I will link you down below. It's explained fairly in depth in the movie.
It's a very good article. I highly recommend it.
The movie does not do a good job at explaining this whatsoever. But essentially, what they did in this movie is that they created the Heisei Godzilla, the one that you see from 84 all the way to Destroya. Rather than stopping the creation of Godzilla, they created a whole new Godzilla, because the 54 Godzilla is not the Heisei Godzilla.
So there were two Godzillas.
There was two Godzillas.
Two separate Godzillas.
Which is also established in Destroya. They make sure that they say that the 54 Godzilla and the Heisei Godzilla are two different beings. This is where things get confusing.
Yes.
Because the assumption is that the Godzillasaurus is still a Godzillasaurus, and it is not Godzilla. So in order to combat King Ghidorah, they surmise, well, hey, let's go ahead and send a nuclear submarine down there so we can create a new Godzilla, essentially. Well, guess what? There is no new Godzilla, because Godzilla is still there.
But it does make him bigger, though, right?
It does. No, but that's what I was just going to say. They send the sub, and all they end up doing is creating a much bigger Godzilla. What it turns out is that they just themselves over. But I gotta tell you, none of the stuff that we just told you is very apparent in this movie.
It took this article for me to finally understand.
And the article is not necessarily a super short read, you know what I mean?
No, it's a big heading. If not for that whole confusion, this movie probably would have gotten bumped up 2 or 3 spots.
That fight between him and Ghidorah, did you like that one?
Oh, yeah.
Another trope that is very apparent in these movies, and this one I think is the start of it. I don't think it really happened in Biollante, And that's the infamous beam wars. For the most part, 90% of the battling in here is just, you know, hey, we're going to stand apart from each other and shoot lasers at each other.
It reminds me of those games when you have your moves that you can do. You can do the punch, the kick, or the beam. Of course, you're going to go with the beam.
And you're also really limited to what you can do with the suits, because Kawakita even said that he wasn't a big fan of them, of the old Showa stuff, like them battling against each other. One-on-one, hand-to-hand, because it looked like men in suits, and he was trying to get away from that effect. But to counter that, you just have a couple monsters standing around shooting lasers at each other, you know? Yeah. With very little else going on. They do change up the fights a little bit, but I think that these fights, as cool as they are, they're not as exciting, nor intense, nor as brutal as what happened in the previous movie. There is a little bit of a brutal moment. It's not necessarily gory or gushy or anything like that, but it is kind of cool. Ghidorah gets his middle head blown off.
Yeah, that was... wow.
Yeah. And Ghidorah's pretty much knocked up. Godzilla's just like, hey, I just kicked your ass. What are you going to do?
Now it's time for me to tramp all over the city.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. One of the major things that is really remembered in this movie is the final, I guess, stare down between our character Shindo and Godzilla himself. Shindo was the Japanese soldier who was saved by the Godzillasaurus on Lagos Island. And now here he comes face to face with his savior once again. But so much has changed between then, and they have this epic stare down, this moment of understanding. Shindo's crying. Supposedly Godzilla is crying too. Apparently there's a tear in there. I cannot see it.
I can't see it, even after you pointed it out.
But there is a nod. There is a nod. There is some acknowledgement there, and Shindo kind of understands that this is the way it has to be. You don't ever see that kind of relationship ever again.
No, it's kind of weird in that sense.
It is.
You know?
It is, and I don't even necessarily feel like it's a fully fleshed out, fully three-dimensional, great piece of writing. But it certainly has some intrigue behind it.
I like what they were going for there.
Yeah. So
but yeah, I, like you said, I wish they would have fleshed it out a little bit more.
Emmy and M11 basically devise a plan to where they're going to go into the future to resurrect Ghidorah and bring him back to fight Godzilla, which is funny because, you know, they brought Godzilla back to fight Ghidorah. Now Godzilla beats Ghidorah. Now Godzilla's attacking everybody. Then they're like, oh, we gotta get Ghidorah back to kill Godzilla.
Oh god, I've gone cross-eyed.
Yeah. The final showdown. Again, it's another beam fight, but Mecha King Ghidorah.
It's epic.
Dude, I love that suit.
Yeah, I do too.
I love that suit. Like, it just looks so good.
It's almost like you can picture them sitting around the boardroom table saying, like, how can we make King Ghidorah even more cooler? I wish that part of the fight would have lasted a little bit longer.
You know, I think it was good for what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you said the same thing with Biollante, that you wanted to see more of the final form. And I totally get that, but the fact that we wanted more from those...
I was just going to say, it's a good thing that we end the movie wanting to see more.
Yeah.
I don't like it when I get out of a movie and I'm like, yeah, that was way too much of this or way too much of that.
Right. I'm not a big fan of how the fight ends because this is a cliche that I just wish would go the away. And that's, oh, we're just going to drop Godzilla into the ocean. They think that Godzilla has been defeated, but right before the credits roll, we see at the bottom of the sea, Godzilla actually is still alive. That ending is practically the same as Biollante, except for one thing. In Biollante, they see Godzilla revive, and they're just like, ho-ho, hey, he's back, all right.
Yeah.
Therefore nullifying everything that happened previous. But at least in this, they have no idea.
They have no clue.
But the audience does. So it's like, oh, they're going to be in for it in the next movie.
Between this versus Biollante, it really depends on what type of mood you're in. If you're in the mood for a turn your brain off, you know, just have fun type of movie, this is your movie.
I personally really like both movies, and I think that to appreciate the differences between the two of them is actually kind of fun. Because they really are just two completely different movies.
Yeah.
And I think that Ghidorah overall is fun. Does it make a whole lot of sense? No. Are its ideas fairly brilliant? I think so. Yeah. I really like the idea that we explained to you earlier about basically them creating the Heisei timeline. I think that's fantastic.
I think it's very ambitious. If they would have executed that perfectly, this movie would have been so stellar.
And you think about how far we've come up to this point. They're trying new ideas.
Yeah, which I love. I love to see that.
It's not just, oh, hey, there's a meteorite that's fucking come down and Ghidorah pops out. Not that was bad, but it's not an alien invasion story.
We've seen it already.
Very ambitious, like you said.
Yeah.
Not necessarily great in terms of execution sometimes, but damn, they're doing something different. And for that alone, I think this movie deserves respect and honestly is worth the watch. Well, the next movie brings back yet another fan favorite, and just so happened to be the top-selling movie of the Heisei era because of all those lovely, lovely women. Ladies, yes indeed, your girl Mothra is returning in Godzilla vs. Mothra: Battle for Earth. That will be the next movie that we are reviewing, and I don't know, are you excited about it?
We'll see. I've seen it once.
And with that said, for Godzilla's sake, keep watching Tokusatsu for the good of mankind and yourselves. And please, oh please, if your local museum ever promotes their dinosaur exhibit, you know, the ones with the animatronics or the statues or anything like that, please raise your arms in protest. March, picket, do whatever it takes. Because them dinosaurs are killing our boys! Bye, folks! Bye, Brian!